Pokemon Yellow is the third version of the beloved first generation of Pokemon games, but I think we can all agree that they are held together by hopes, dreams, and maybe a little bit of duct tape at best. Smith plays Pokemon and members of his community went out of their way to make this, Pokemon Yellow Legacy, a ROM hack of the original Pokemon Yellow for the Game Boy Color that adds a bunch of quality of life changes and a much more balanced experience 25 years later. These games change a lot whilst still aiming to deliver a feeling of the vanilla Pokemon experience. To be honest, I'm not going to go super in depth over a lot of the changes, but they did add slightly higher difficulty, new encounter tables, better move pools, higher level curve, more movesets, full Pokedex availability, a post-game boss rush, and much more. If you want to find out in proper detail, feel free to watch Smith Plays Pokemon's video in the description below. I played this game with hardcore Nuzlocke rules, which are listed on screen in case you're curious. Some nice smaller changes that are already present though is that there is the selection availability of a female character in the running shoes. In a small map like Generation 1 Kanto, this is actually really fast. We collect our Pikachu from Oak and then proceed to boot our rival out of the lab. We head up to Viridian City now though, where we pick up a parcel and deliver it to the lab, and as a thank you for doing it, he gives us the Pokedex. After picking up some Pokeballs though, we catch our first encounters of the run with a Pidgey, Nidoran, and Vulpix before kicking our rival's butt once more. Now though, we can head into Viridian Forest where we catch ourselves a Weedle and see a trainer with a freaking pincer in the first split of the run. Nonetheless though, let's fight Brock. His team at face value is the same as his vanilla team, except for the fact that Geodude carries Rock Throw and Onix carries Constrict. However, Onix is the most buffed Pokemon in the entire game, with a massive plus 40 HP, plus 35 attack, 35 special, and 15 more speed. This thing is actually quite strong and really imposes a threat like a mon of Onix's stature could. Anyway, with a whopping 0 counters of the available triad of Oddish, Goldeen, and Poliwag, let's ball hard into Brock's rocks. He leads with Geodude, so I start off with my Nidoran, who hits double kick before hitting the range on the second. Then comes Onix, who is terrifying with Bide being able to take out anything if you get your place wrong. I go for Leers to try and lower its towering defense before sending a big double kick in, doing a touch above half. I'm now dead to a bind if I stay in however, so I swing across to Pikachu and quick attack chipping it slowly before it gets down another screech on me, forcing another switch. But of course, it gets critical binds, doing big damage to Vulpix as well before going for an Ember as it was doing more than quick attack would have. Another switch later to Beedrill and some Poison Stings later, we have our first gym badge. Round 3 has a lot of trainers, but they don't stand a chance against us with our power, as we also pick up a Rattata on the way to Mount Moon, where I get a gift Magikarp from this bald guy on Route 4, and then a Geodude in Mount Moon before running through to this guy, who gives us a fossil for beating him. We also get stopped by Jesse and James on the way out of here, who have the usual guys of Coughing, Ekans, and Meowth, before heading to Cerulean City. Before we can even think about fighting Misty, however, we go up to Bill's house and have to fight our rival to get there. His team is pretty weak and doesn't hustle us whatsoever. Spearow falls to Pikachu as does Rattata, Bellsprout gets needled to execution, and Eevee goes down to it as well. We then barrel through all the trainers up to Bill's house whilst also getting a gift Charmander on Route 24 and a Venonat on Route 25. Upon entering Bill's house though, Pikachu is flabbergasted as Bill had an accident and got mixed up with a Kabuto. Luckily for him though, we can just sort him out with the press of a button. After this though, I wander down toward Vermilion City, but not too far. Some of those trainers are tough. As a result of this, I pick up a Meowth and lose a Lickitung because I run out of balls. Either way though, let's fight Misty. Her team is one of the first in the game to have a new Pokemon added to it with Psyduck and Goldeen in place of the traditional Staryu. I lead Gyarados, who with 2 bites takes out the duck, as Goldeen comes out, who also doesn't stand a single chance against Steve. Starmie though is a whole nother kettle of fish. Confusion takes me down to 31 HP, and with Generation 1 critical hit rates, it's terrifying me now, as I don't know whether I could even live a critical hit or not. So I switch to Pidgeotto for good measure. It critical hits doing massive damage. I then go to Pikachu and just decide to risk it, and yep. Our starter dead to Misty. Where have I seen that before? Turns out I could have just left Gyarados in and been fine, but hey, we needed to spice things up a little earlier on, eh? And that's where Surge comes in. After picking up a few more encounters with a Good Rod, a Drowsy and a Diglett, we can stomp our rival once more and go into Surge's gym. Now when I tell you, this might be the single most dangerous fight in the game, you would laugh. But the level cap here is 24. Surge's Raichu is level 29. It also carries the moves Thunderbolt and Thunderwave, has Body Slam instead of Mega Punch, and also carries Surf, so you can't just slap it with a Diglett and win. As they say in the video, the real aim of this fight is to make a super strong boss that you whittle down with your entire team at once, and this definitely shows it. So what do I do against the towering Thundermouse? Let's find out. I lead off with Drowsy in hopes that a Hypnosis can put it away, but of course I miss and get slapped with a critical hit Surf. I then sack Drowsy for the first death, as nothing can switch in on it, as I then swend out Nidoking to do good damage with the Body Slam, and I get lucky with the Paralysis whilst falling into range of a Surf Kill as I switch to Venonat to try and disable it, before switching to Big Beezus to do good damage with Pin Missile, and we do just about enough, giving us the Thunder Badge. Now though, we can head into Celadon City, picking up cool encounters on the way with a Reclaim of Lickitung on Route 9, Magneton on Route 10, Zubat in Rock Tunnel, Jigglypuff on Route 8, Coughing on Route 7, and the Gift Eevee in Celadon City. Then we get to Erika, who as much as I wish I could say was tough, Beedrill absolutely tore a new one of her, taking out all of her Pokemon with absolute ease. This is going to be a common theme in this game, by the way. Generation 1 is still pretty simple no matter which way you look at it. Now though, we go into Koga Split, where the game really does split off. You can take on either Koga or Sabrina at this point in time, as both actually have the same level cap and it scales with how many badges you have. But before we can even think of any of that, we have to throw Giovanni out of the casino and clown on the rival, blast Jesse and James off again, get the Pokeflute, catch a big boy, some fish, a plant, a goat, a jellyfish, and a big bird, before heading into Safari Zone, which gifts us a neat arena, before we grab the gold teeth to get Surf and Strength. Now though, we do take on Koga, and he comes at us with toxic poison types. For that though, there's a nice little Easter egg here, as Janine is training with her poison types and fights us as well. But unfortunately for her, she stood zero chance. Koga is a different story, however. He loses his Golbat, so I start off with Charizard to go for a couple of big flamethrowers to take it out. Next in is Muck, who takes a little under half before hitting a solid Sludge as we burn it on the second hit, managing to just about kill. One slash later though, and it's out of here, as he then throws Tentacruel into the mix. This is an amazing new addition, honestly, and makes so much sense for the local area. Either way though, I swing to Gyarados, who very nearly gets snapped in two after two Sludges, as my Thunderbolt does half damage. I decided to be brave and stay in, but I lost out to crit on the next turn. This let me bring out Jolteon though, who can go for another T-Bolt to kill it and Venomoth, getting us the Toxic Badge. Before heading into Silphco, I storm through the sweaty Chads in the fighting dojo and get myself a Hitmonchan, which got some really awesome buffs, allowing it to really utilise its coverage in this game. Now though, I go all the way over to Cinnabar for a detour to get myself Aerodactyl. The most powerful Pokemon in Generation 1 Nuzlocking in my opinion, comes preloaded now with stab moves, unlike in vanilla Pokemon, rendering it an absolute monster. I won't lie though. If you know where you're going in Silphco, it's actually really short, being all of 5 or so battles, 2 grunts, the rival Jesse and James, and then Giovanni. But first up for us is the rival, and this is a tougher fight than ever with him having evolved Mons and more. He leads with Big P and I take it out with the Flamethrower before switching to Jolteon on his Gyarados. Thankfully a Thunderbolt takes it out before we could have got crit, as he then slings in Rhydon, so I go to Slowbro, who outspeeds and kills with Waterfall. Then in is Alakazam, so I go for some Amnesia to try and build up to kill it, but double crit and a burn doesn't really give me a chance, but I go for it anyway, letting it go down, bringing in Hitmonchan, who holds on and kills. Finally is Jolteon, who gets bodied by Nidoking. Jesse and James stand no chance against us at this point, and are more of a chicane to fight than anything else. Now is Giovanni, and he comes with some different mons in a reference to the anime. He leads with Kingler, who goes for a massive Harden before getting swept away by Tentacruel Surfs, as Kangaskhan follows before Machoke tries digging. I go to Zardom Dig to be immune and quickly burn it to a crisp as Golem comes out, forcing me to switch to Hitmonchan, who can Tuco. Persian comes in finally, so I go to Nidoking, who kills it with Earthquake after taking huge damage from guaranteed crit slashes, getting the win. After getting ourselves the Master Ball from the chairman though, we can go to fight Sabrina now, who's carrying Psychic Pokemon. She has the same team as Vanilla, but also adds a Mr. Mime and a Jinx for extra beef in her team. Unfortunately for her though, Scyther and Charizard managed to carve through her with no effort at all. We then tear through the gym, getting to Blaine, who falls to some Surf from Tentacruel. As I said, I really wish I could go more in depth in these games in the late game, but when this is all it takes, what can you do? Anyway, time for Giovanni once more, and this time he packs his vanilla gym team just with better movesets, but as I said, it's the same fight as Blaine. Tentacruel tears through him, unlocking the path to the Pokemon League and a new level cap of 62. One more rival fight later though, we find ourselves at the gates of the League for the first time. Now, the League in this game isn't actually too dissimilar to vanilla Pokemon. The only real changes are the movesets. Yes, Agatha now has a Marowak, Bruno has Poliwrath, and Lance's team is extremely similar to his Johto one, but honestly, it's not all that hard. With the power of Stat EXP, or EVs as they're known in modern games, we should be able to steamroll this Elite Four, especially considering we can also buy all the good moves at the mart in the League. But, enough said, let's do this. Lorelei starts off with Slowbro as I lead Kabutops, going for an Ice Beam to ensure that I killed with 2 Rock Slides afterwards. I then swing in Jolteon to eat an Ice Beam before zapping Cloyster with a Thunderbolt along with Dugong, Jinx and Lapras, all falling to the Zappy Bubba's onslaught. Bruno then gets slapped from boulder to boulder on a huge ring out thanks to Tentacruel being able to learn Giga Drain, Ice Beam and Surf to take out all of his Pokemon in quick succession. As Aerodactyl then proceeds to dunk on the old bat Agatha with Earthquakes and Rock Slides before we take on Lance. Aerodactyl leads on the Dragonite, taking it out with a Rock Slide before I switch to Jolteon on the Gyarados to one-shot it with Thunderbolt, and then Charizard and Aerodactyl follow and suffer the same fate. Dragonite number 2 comes out, so I go across to Tentacruel to freeze it with a big Ice Beam to win us the battle, leaving just the champion fight. One more time now, we get to fight our rival Turnip, and he wants to prove that he's not here to take up space, as he leads with Alakazam. Aerodactyl wallops it with Hyper Beam for Rhydon to come in, who also just goes down to 2 Earthquakes. I don't trust it quite enough to stay in and kill with Gyarados here, so I switch to Jolteon to take it out in one hit. Arcanine lives a Thunder by the skin of its teeth before it also goes down to a Quick Attack, and then a Thunder Wave on Eggy means that I have to switch out Jolteon, so I go to Charizard, who manages to take it out with just a single fly. Finally is Jolteon, who goes down on an Earthquake from Rhydon, winning us the Pokemon League for the first time, making us the champions of Yellow Legacy. Right? Right?
I'm not done yet!
Well, turns out that the Elite Four and just the gym leaders all wanted a rematch, but to be honest, these fights were very easy and all went down with genuinely zero issue whatsoever. And as much as I'd be willing to happily add it to the video to get some longer content, I'm not going to do that, as these fights were simple enough in Generation 1. I do like the idea of them having their stadium teams though. It's a great reference to the hardest games in the entire Pokemon series. But I want to say a massive shout out to the Smith Place community for this game, and I really do rate the work that was done here. My only issue is that a lot of the things in the game felt a little too easy, but then that's for me. That's an opinionated thing, and the intention wasn't to make a Kaiser level game, and I really do respect it. At the same time, there is an extremely fine line to walk when it comes to Generation 1. You can either have a vanilla plus experience like this game turned out to be, which is still relatively easy, as it's Generation 1 at its core, or Intense Indigo with level 100 Pokemon at Gym 2. Nonetheless, I would still rate this hack a solid 7.5 out of 10. A lot of the changes made in the game were quite good, however unfortunately some of the AI quirks were still there, for example in Sylph where Giovanni used Harden rather than doing some damage. As I said though, the good more than outweighs anything else in this game, and it was still a very enjoyable game to Nuzlocke. If you want to run a Generation ROM hack that is slightly harder than the vanilla games, please do give this a go, you won't regret it whatsoever. If you did enjoy the video though, leave a like, hit the subscribe button as well. We've recently hit 3,000 subscribers on the channel. If we could hit 5,000 before the end of the year, that would mean the world to me. But until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace.